I am Donna Crossland. I'm an ecologist in the Wabanagi Acadian Forest region, and I'm here today to explain to you how you would set up a basil bark spray operation to conserve your eastern hemlock trees. Basil bark spray represents one of the cheapest, most effective ways to treat our trees. These are the two products that we currently have in Nova Scotia that we can use for basil bark spray applications. This is for when the trees are still in good health and you're treating the trees nice and early, and this is for when trees are in decline, Starkle that we use if we need to because you got there a little too late. This simple apparatus is all you need to complete basil bark spray. It's a 15-liter hand pump operated backpack sprayer. They range from about $200 to $300. This is the hand pump that pressurizes the tank. And so you just a few pumps until it's firm, and then the sprayer is ready to go. You can get battery operated sprayers, but that's just an additional expense. It's really no problem to use the hand pump. This is the spray wand and the handle with the lever that starts and stops the flow. On the other end, you must install a constant flow valve, or CFV as they're called in the business. It's an essential part of this whole setup for basil bark spray because it ensures that the flow rate and your spray pressure remain constant, as well as a nozzle. In this case, we've added a blue fan tip nozzle so that we can ensure that the tree receives the proper dose. You may want to experiment with different nozzles to reduce spray drift, such as a drift guard nozzle or an air induction nozzle. When you install the constant flow valve and the nozzle, you must ensure that once this becomes pressurized that you don't have any leaks. If you do, you may want to just give things a nice hand twist to make sure that they're tight. If they're still leaking, you may need to just purchase some simple plumber's tape like this. Keep a little kit handy just in case your spring leaks or there's a gasket that goes, and add some plumber's tape to the threads just before the CFV or the nozzle. Always good to have a spare toolkit with some spare parts, some plumber's tape, CFV or constant flow valve, some spare nozzles and gaskets, and maybe even some hose clamps in case you spring a leak. Before we begin, we must read the label, the product label, because this is the legal document that accompanies any commercial product. And it's very important to review the directions for use and what you need for personal protective equipment, as well as the dosage that goes on the tree, and to ensure that you remain within the legally prescribed dosage. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, requires at minimum gloves and glasses. So we put on our safety glasses. Prescription glasses as well are acceptable. You want to ensure that you've got good coverage. And long sleeves, long pants, socks and shoes. That's what the label specifies. As well, when we review the label, we realize that it's prescribing that this cannot be applied within 7 meters of water courses. There's a treatment threshold limit, and we're not allowed to apply more than 1.9 liters per hectare each year. If we're using this in a residential area, we need to ensure that we keep people out and their pets for at least 24 hours. And so using some caution tape and some signage, we post it and make sure that we can safely cordon off the area. Gloves need to be chemical resistant gloves, and you can buy them in different thicknesses. I like this thickness because they're more puncture proof, but as well, some people prefer a thinner glove. It really doesn't matter as long as they're chemical resistant, but these are also just fine. I roll the cuff so that if there is any spillage, it'll hopefully be caught in the cuff. These are the items prescribed at a minimum for personal protective equipment when conducting basil bark spray. What we just covered were the items you need as prescribed on the label, but some people are more comfortable if they have some additional PPE that they wear. For instance, instead of wearing just safety glasses, you can replace that with a face shield. So that gives you a little more coverage. As well, Some people, you can jazz that up a little bit with a What Bugs You face shield, which actually has very good visuals. So you can buy them in different colors as well. Some people feel that they can taste the product a little bit, and it depends on the day perhaps, but you can use a face mask, or you can step it up another notch to wearing a full respirator mask. These are all according to just your personal comfort level. The label prescribed just long sleeves, long pants, socks, and shoes, but some people prefer a little more protection from the spray using a Tyvek suit, although those get to be expensive after a while. So you can use just a cheap medical gown that you can buy at a bargain store for 50 cents, $1. You can also use a rain suit. This is great actually, especially occasionally we have backpack sprayers that spring a leak, and so this gives you better protection from that. So you can wear the full pants and the rain jacket, or you can also buy a set of coveralls, and certainly buying high visibility coveralls is better for working in the forest, but you can just take these off at the end of the day and wash them. You must properly plan before conducting basil bark spray. Check the weather forecast. There must be very, very low wind that day to reduce spray drift, as well as no rain in the forecast, because we don't want the product to wash off the trees. Before you head out to do your spray, you need to calibrate the sprayer. And that's a simple task. Only takes a few minutes. So I'm donning on my backpack sprayer with just water in there, so that's why I don't need to wear my PPE presently, because I'm just working with water. I'm trying to ensure that the tank is working properly, that there are no blockages. And so to calibrate a sprayer, we're going to time the flow rate for 15 seconds and see how much spray comes out the nozzle. You don't have to have a graduated cylinder, it's just that this measures a little more precisely, but if you just have a beaker or some kind of measuring device at home, that's fine. Okay, so we're pressurizing the tank, and we'll set a timer for 15 seconds. So ready to go. Start. Four, 3, 2, 1, stop. In 15 seconds of spray, we delivered 200 milliliters of liquid. And so what we do is simply divide 200 milliliters by the 15 seconds to get a flow rate of 13.3 milliliters per second. And that, we know that's the amount that will be delivered to the tree per second. So that's the correct flow rate. But what happens if your flow rate delivers more than 200 milliliters in 15 seconds? It's time to investigate either switching out the CFV or the nozzle, or both. What happens if, when you test it, you get under 200 milliliters of water? Probably one of your 3 filters is plugged. Debris has gotten into your backpack sprayer. So that means you're going to take the sprayer off, you're going to investigate all the filters, clean them out, and then try to calibrate your tank again. Here we are ready to do our mixing of a full tank, a full 15-liter tank of Zytec. The first thing we need to think about is shaking this up, because it's a very chalk-like substance, and we want to make sure that it's all suspended in solution before we measure it. It's a little bit of a windy day up here for this demonstration, but just bear in mind that weather forecasts are important. You don't want rain in the forecast, and you don't want a lot of wind on the day that you spray, because you want to reduce your spray drift. But for the purposes of demonstrating today, we'll be carrying on through. A couple of things you want to have together before you start this, besides a calibrated backpack sprayer, you want some water. You'll notice I've already put some water in the spray tank, because we do want water in the bottom before we put in the Zytec, because otherwise it's more heavy and it'll go right to the bottom and out into the hose, and then you'll have a pure dose of Zytec. So must have some water in the bottom before you start. You'll need a measuring device. I prefer graduated cylinders because it gives a little more precise measurement. I always work over some kind of spill berm. It doesn't have to be fancy. I think this is some kind of under the bed storage box. You can also have folding spill berm, which is handy in backcountry situations. You'll need enough water to make up a 15-liter tank. And you'll notice I have my clean kit ready in case there's a bit of a spill. I also do have a spill kit. So the clean kit's more about decontaminating myself, but I have a spill kit with some kitty litter in it, or some special absorbent material. I've got a garbage bag, some gloves, a spade in here so that I can dig up any contaminated soil and put it in a heavy garbage bag for disposal. But we won't have any spills today because we always work in a double contained situation. I keep a clean kit assembled at all times on all of the pesticide operations. It just has some backup equipment here, some spare safety glasses, some masks, and I've got my shield ready for today because I think I'm going to try to wear a shield. It gives me a little better protection than wearing just safety glasses. So we've shaken this. We're going to measure out 1,350 milliliters for the purposes of today. We're working under an emergency registration product label presently, and we're following a label example. I pre-marked where I want the product to come up to the fill line for a full tank, and that just helps to guide me. And then we slowly, carefully pour. If you have a partner who's wearing their PPE, they might steady this for you. That looks about right. You'll see I'm just lifting it because things aren't always level in the forest. I'm pouring it through a filter as well because there's a lot of debris still falling from the forest. All right, the next thing to do is to shake again. We're going to shake this up. I like to use my knee just to balance it and give it a good vigorous shake. Today I used a bit of warm water, and the warm water really helps to get this into solution. We've got our product in there. Now we need to just fill this with water to the fill line that I've pre-marked on the sprayers. There's a bit of product left in the graduated cylinder, so we will rinse that out. Might as well get all the product. Plus the Zytec kind of forms a chalkiness, and so it's good to have your equipment all rinsed best you can when you're working in these often backcountry conditions. Also want to make sure the tank is sitting more or less on level ground when checking to see if it's full. So we have our backpack on, and now there's one last step before we're ready to spray, and that's to remember that my line here has just got air or water in it. So you're going to have to prime the line, pressurize your backpack sprayer. I'm just going to spray into my graduated cylinder here until I see that Zytec is coming out. The choice is yours, how you time, how many seconds of application you're placing on the tree. You can use an app on your phone if you want. Some people have a metronome app. I've got just a simple digital metronome that I carry on my sprayer. The way we've mixed this today, 1 second of application will be equal to 1 centimeter of diameter breast height. So you see the trees marked behind me. They're all measured and we're ready to go. So we're ready to spray our first tree, which we've marked that it's 51 centimeters in diameter at 1.3 meters above the ground. I usually prefer to take the ribbon off because it will be contaminated by the spray. So I just take it off, and then you can store it somewhere in a pouch or wrap it around the handle of your sprayer is quite often what we do. And so I'm going to be basal bark spraying from 1.4 meters, so just a little higher than the DBH height, but you don't have to go that high. And then going down to the root flares, which are a very good area to spray, except there's quite a bit of moss here, so I may not want to spray as much there because there's a whole ecosystem in the moss. Some people scrape that off. I don't, because we're also trying to conserve biodiversity of this stand. So I'll just probably spray down to about here. There's a bit of bare wood there. I might try to get that. And then I want an even spray all the way around this tree. You need to make at least one complete circle around the tree to make sure that you're getting an even distribution in the canopy. And so I'm going to set my metronome so I know how many seconds, 1 second per each centimeter of DBH. And go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 49, 50. And that's it. You can see there was a little tiny bit of drift with that, but the wind is just gusting, so in between the gusts we can spray and not worry too much about a spray drift today. Pretty good conditions overall. I also have with me today Joe Shell from the Medway Community Forest Co-op. He was strike team leader with the crew last season, and you'll see he's dressed slightly different than I am today. He's wearing a full respirator, facial protection, and he's ready to roll. And he's also using a timer as opposed to the metronome app, so he's just picking up his timer that he's got around his neck, and he's looking as he goes. As he gets close to the end, he'll pick up his timer and see how many seconds he has remaining. You see, you're not holding the wand too far from the tree. The closer you come to the tree, the better it is for reducing spray drift. And with the 14.5 psi constant flow valve, it's at the lowest possible pressure, and so there's not so much ricocheting from coming out of the sprayer.